Hello, Dr. Alvaro. This is a part 2 of the video that Sebastian and myself were working on. Over the past couple of hours, I've been trying to get the blur effect. Unfortunately, that wasn't working. I did, however, get the frame buffer object, but that's not the full of it. However, I thought I'd still explain that and a little bit more of the Phong shader, as I didn't think I did a good enough explanation of how it would be working. So we'll just go into that really quickly. Basically, the Phong model is taking in different data, such as the light data, the normal data, the V data, which is, I believe, the camera position, and the H value, which is the light and also the camera position normalized together. Or plus each other, and then, yeah. Anyway, what we have in the examples here is the diffuse color, the diffuse intensity. The color is going to be reflected off of whether it's a texture or whether it's a standard color. So that, if, as you can see, we're using URGB for the fishing pole. I used a 1D texture because I was actually doing color ramp. Anyway, but yeah, that's going to reflect on what the diffuse will be. If we go into the intensity, that's going to be sort of how bright it's shining, because diffuse light is basically the reaction, so to speak, of when light is bouncing off of it. And that's important because you're going to have your normal data, which is going to be where those points are bouncing off. So for specular, we have specular intensity. This is, again, the shininess aspect of the model. So that's going to be rather high, just to show how reflective it will be to the light coming down on it. And then, of course, ambient would be its own emission of light. But yeah, I just wanted to go on and explain the Phong model a little bit better, because I didn't think I did as well as I wanted. So now going over back to the frame buffer object. So basically the magic behind this is that we have made a active buffer that's a quad, and then put that in front of the camera to simulate, ooh, what is going up here? Oh well. Yeah. It actually works pretty well because of the sort of underwater vibe of the fish, but whatever. It's not blur. However, to get to that blur, what we'd be doing... I'm getting a little bit carried away, so... going to frame buffer object. This is a lot of sort of Michael's code, but the gist of it is that we're getting in the width and height of what we are recording and measuring for our frame buffer. In the pipeline, we're basically getting this buffer that we're altering and putting it into a texture, and then sending that texture in as in front, so to speak. So binding, unbinding, and let me actually just find the frame buffer.h, because that's a little bit more condensed and easier to swallow, I'd say. So from the frame buffer drawing, sorry, I probably should have looked at these notes before. Anyway, unbind frame buffer. So yeah, as you can see, we're binding the frame buffer. Then we're basically taking a sample of it so that we can, like, once we have the data, then we can unbind it and then work with the sort of sampled data. We can clear the frame buffer. From there, we can destroy, use basically a handle. So that's basically just using the data from the FBO. And from that, we can distort the data. So, like, if you see here, we're basically manipulating the data of this texture and kind of changing it around. In this one, we have sort of a wave using pi. If we go to main, like, we can see a little bit more of it. apologies, scrolling through. Okay, found it. Sorry about that. So basically here we're updating the scene, we're doing different sorts of things to the light position, the U space. We are binding and unbinding the frame buffer from here, drawing the scene in the render camera, and basically manipulating the results from here that we can, these are just things like the wireframe mode, different things like using the UV, or the, the UV, I believe, depending on the camera projection here. And of course we have our quad, which is what we're projecting these textures onto. So here we have our sort of wavelength amplitudes and such, and then of course we're going to use the distort here to do our sort of thing. From there, sorry, just still reading through this. Yeah, sorry. So from here, we basically told the frame buffer to, or the texture of the frame buffer, to just sort of warp through it. And that's all it is. It's really just a texture that's been updating and that we are distorting of its values. If I were to get to the blur part, which unfortunately I wasn't able to, kind of like how in the lectures and in the code, or the PDF from the code, which I unfortunately wasn't able to get done, is we'd be manipulating the pixels around to their relative kernels, I believe, and just sort of blurring those together. I'm not really great at explaining this, but basically that's what it is. It's distorting a plane in front of the buffer, and we can also add multiple things onto the buffer, and that was one of the big problems I was having. Anyway, thank you for listening to the rambling. It's been 7 minutes, holy. Hope you have a good one.